Alright guys, I'm back. This time we're going to talk about onboard air. Right? There's a lot of different options you have to get air in your Jeep. You can run an ARB compressor. You can run you know, the air up down, the new one that they have that kind of gives you kind of a port at each tire. There's a lot of different options. For me, I went with PowerTank. PowerTank is compressed CO2. I have two different ones. I have a 15-pound tank in my Jeep. You can see with this one I'm running the big regulator up top. PowerTank drop bracket, obviously powder coated orange, why not? PowerTank mount. What's cool about the mount is you can actually, on the back side of it, there's actually a place that you can lock it. So I have this one that's powder coated black. I also have one for this one that's actually not powder coated at all. It's just raw aluminum. So you know, a PowerTank works the same no matter what size you have, right? It's just a valve. You know, on my Instagram page, I get a lot of people asking me like, is that nitrous on the back of your Jeep? What is that? It's obviously not nitrous, although that would actually be kind of cool. But it's compressed CO2. So difference between compressed CO2 and just if you were to fill this up with an air compressor is life, right? Compressed CO2 is going to last forever, and it lasts longer the hotter it gets. So if you were to put this tank actually out in the sun, you're going to get more time out of it. You're going to get more life out of this thing than you would if it's here in the shade and cold. So, you know, everybody always says, well, how many tires can you air up with this little bitty tank, right? If you put this next to the tire, you're like, what are you going to get? Half a fill out of that? In a 37-inch tire, depending on how low you go, right, on your pressure and how high you fill them, you can get a good 10 to 12 tires out of that. You know, if you're dropping down to low PSI and airing to high PSI, you can get a lot. So you can get a good 2 trips out of it. And that's including running your air tools. Like if you want to run an air gun impact wrench to get that off, you get your tires off if you ever need to, or if you want to run just filling them up and down, you can get a lot of life out of these. I haven't filled this one in a year, and I use it for all kinds of stuff. I use it on my trailer. I use it to air up my lawnmower tires. I use it to I bring it with me on every trip when I'm traveling with the trailer, just because it's easy, it's quick, and this thing lasts forever. So they make different options. I think they make a 5, a 10, a 15, a 20. You know, they make all kinds of different inflators. You know, this inflator is for like an ATV or a lawnmower. It goes up to 15 PSI. I use it on my kids' bikes. Everything on here is super high quality. You have a quick disconnect valve, which you can pop it off real quickly. It's nice and clean. It doesn't let out a bunch of air when you're hooking it up. You just pop it in, pop it up, and it's up. So you can see it's all high quality components. It's all brass, it's all clip on, it's heavy. I've had this one for a couple years now, never had to replace the battery, never had a single issue with it. Works great. Digital inflator. They make them with the manual as well, where it has just the needle that goes around. This one's up to 150 PSI max. This is one I use on the Jeep, airing it up and down. Same thing as that one. Difference is just the pressure it goes up to. Obviously, you want to do it accurately. So, you know, they make these in all different sizes. But, you know, when you get to 150 PSI max, it's working from very low to very high. Your accuracy isn't going to be as good as it is with one that's a 15 PSI max, right? So if you went with one that's 0 to 80, you're going to have better accuracy of what you're actually getting to than a 0 to 150, right? So they cost about the same. It just depends on, you know, how accurate do you need to be. On the Jeep, I'm okay if I'm half a pound off, not a big deal. You know, on a lawnmower tire, or especially an ATV, you want to be more accurate, right? Because if especially if it's for your kids or something like that, on an ATV, if you're off by a pound, it can get you into an unsafe situation. I've done it. I've actually had a ATV tire that was a pound off going through a cotton field, and actually ended up rolling it while I was doing a wheelie just because one tire sat low and hit wrong. So there's a lot of, it sounds crazy, but you know, pay attention to the air pressure, especially in like an ATV tire. These big things don't matter as much if you're a pound off. Something as small as an ATV, especially a performance ATV, it can give you some trouble. So they also make smaller tanks for an ATV, right? They're about this big, something like you'd see on a paintball gun, and those are great for you know, if you just need it for ATV tires in an emergency or something like that. So a good friend of mine has one. He loves it. Sits mounted to the roll bar in his ATV. Uses it. He's used it a couple times out in the woods. These are great for everything, right? I've used them, again, put down a hardwood floor. I've built a chicken wire fence with them. You can just hook your air tools up, and we'll show you that in a minute. But anything that uses an air compressor, this can work on. Obviously, if you hook it up to like a spray gun, you're not going to be able to paint your car with it, right? It's not going to last that long. None of them are going to last that long. They're not built for that. You need an air compressor to do that stuff. But for airing up tires, you know, if you just want to just air these things up after airing down on the day, after a day on the trail, you can buy an ARB too, or any other compressor and run it the same way. This is going to save you time. I can air up these tires with my monster valves in here in about 20 seconds. You're not going to air up with an ARB compressor in 20 seconds. So the monster valves, basically what they are is it's a tapped valve, and it's called a monster valve because it's huge. It's a tapped valve into your wheel. You still have your valve stem up here, just like you always do. But what you do is it gives you a bigger hole to put air through, right? So you take the cap off, you hook up the filler to here, and it's basically a dump valve, and you just twist the red, and you can hear the air start coming out of the tire. The farther you twist that, the more air that comes out, the faster it comes out. So what you do is you take a pressure gauge that looks very similar to this, and I didn't get it out, but it basically looks like the top of this. You hook it up to your air gauge up here, and as you're filling through the monster valve, you're just watching your pressure. Right, so as soon as you get close, you turn it off, and what I always do is I just top it off the rest of the way with a regular valve. So again, you can fill up these tires from 3-4 pounds of air with the beadlocks to 30 pounds of pressure, 25 pounds of pressure in 20 to 30 seconds with that 15-pound tank in the back of here. With that, I think it's a 400 PSI valve. So you're not going to get 400 PSI out of an air compressor, especially one on a Jeep. I think this one's a 300 PSI valve. So, you know, you can get some pretty cool stuff with this. Pretty easy to use too. I have two different hoses. I got the yellow one. Yeah, I use this one around the house. It's great for, you know, just airing up tools and tires and using it for nail guns. And in the Jeep, I keep the coil one. I use the coil one. It's got all the same components on it, right? Same nice valve, but it's compact, right? It'll reach all of my tires, but it takes up no room in the Jeep. I usually just tuck it up underneath this strap, and the hose is up and out of the way. So, show you a quick demonstration on how this works. We can do a lot of stuff with it. I showed you how to air up your tire. Again, you can hook this up to your valve stem and air it up the old-fashioned way, right? Just hook it up, plug it in, and it works just fine. If you want to do it faster, go through the monster valves. Monster valves make it easy to air up and air down, so you can dump the air out of those tires in no time with those. While all your buddies are sitting around airing down the old way, you know, putting a little pin in the end of it, you can actually just dump it and drink a beer and make fun of them. That's what we typically do. Show you some other use for it. This is the 15 Psi Max valve. I use it on my little Skag lawnmower here earlier today. This tire right here was low, so we aired it up. Another cool thing you can do is just hold it down, and you can kind of blow off all the dirt. See, just like you would with an air gun. So blow everything off. Takes just a second. Doesn't use a whole lot of air from your tank. So a lot you can do with the PowerTank. I love mine. I've had that one for about 4 years. I've had that one for about 1.5 years. I love them. I'm not getting rid of them. I'll keep them. I don't think there's anyone else in the industry that does these with this quality of stuff. Right? These are all commercial duty fillers on here. They're things that you're going to find at any high-end shop. You know, it's all brass fittings all the way out to the end. They're all nice clip valves. When you clip them on, they hold them on. There's no air bleeding out like you have with a lot of stuff. It's legit stuff. So head out to their page, PowerTank.com. Obviously, they have anything you could ever want for airing up. They have tons of different options for filling. They have tons of different options for dump valves. They're actually coming out with a new monster valve I saw, which has got some cooler caps on the end, and it's just a redesign. It works pretty good. And the guys there, you know, Tyler, Steve, great guys. it's the best part about, again, the off-road industry, is you get to meet a bunch of great guys. Most of them are not big shops. You know, in the Jeep world, you see them and you see these big names, but when you go and actually talk to them, they're not big operations. They're just smaller companies who you know, through great marketing and great products, they've built their names up, which is a great thing. So that's it.